Hello and welcome to our webinar today. My name is Marsha and I'm the Head of Partnerships at Kilimanjaro Consulting. And we are very excited to have Carrie from Netstock join us today to talk about the world of supply chain. We will talk about the challenges, we'll talk about the new approaches being taken by businesses to deal with these challenges, and most importantly, the trends and what's happening in 2024 and beyond. So, without wasting any more time, please join me in welcoming Carrie from Netstock.
Hi, everybody. Firstly, thank you so much to the entire Kilimanjaro team for allowing us to present today, and thank you all for joining. So my name is Carrie Sher. I'm the Channel Relationship Manager for Netstock, and my background is very much in the supply chain operations environment. So I've been in corporate, I've been in consulting, and I've actually known Netstock virtually since their inception. So what we want to chat to you about today is risk management and how do we manage that approach with regards to inventory, technology that identifies and automatically responds to supply chain disruptions, and the ability to model alternative strategies. So if we could take a step back, and I always say, let's think about how the change in end user expectation has morphed over the years. So, and I'm talking about both internal and external. So both yourselves in your entities and your external customers. So when you walked into a store, let's say 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, and now, what is your expectations, your personal expectations regarding availability of product? And how disconcerting are you regarding the brand loyalty if the product isn't there? So perhaps 10 years ago, if there wasn't stock on shelf or inventory on shelf, you'll probably maybe wait or go to another store. But relative to now, where if it's not available, you'll just pick the next best brand, it does show how absolutely critical it is that you have a view of your inventory. So we've done quite a bit of research, and a survey found that 54% of customers have a higher expectation for availability today compared to 1 year ago. That's an enormous number. And another survey, primarily in the retail space, was that product availability was actually the most important factor to them at 79%, followed very closely by how easy is it to return a product? Is there a possibility to deliver direct to you if the product isn't available? But ultimately, at 79% of the survey, or 79% of users, number one was product availability. So when you overlay this against how much cash you have tied up in inventory, I've been in both distressed and optimized consulting within the supply chain realm for many years. And whenever I looked at a balance sheet, property and inventory always had the highest value on any balance sheet. And that does allude once again to the importance of inventory optimization, demand planning, which is what we want to talk to you about today. So one of the first questions I normally pose is, what is your strategy regarding inventory and where do you want to be? And more often than not, when I ask this question, most people will sit back and go, no, of course I want inventory availability at its highest. I want investment at its lowest, and I want fill rate or having the competitive advantage of having your availability rate as high as possible. But how do you do that with an inflexible platform? And that is the concern with a lot of clients today. So we're going to ask a quick poll question before we go into how do we potentially solve all your concerns around your inventory. So the question we want to pose is, have you ever heard of Netstock? So yes, 40% of you have, and no, 60% of you haven't. So let's quickly go through what is Netstock. So as I said, I've been affiliated to Netstock for many years, and it is a demand, supply, and inventory optimization cloud-based tool. So Netstock will have a direct integration into MyOp, and we will pull out fresh information directly from your ERP. So there's no chance of any type of contamination or adjustments. And we in turn will provide you with a cloud-based platform that will provide you, number one, with status of your inventory. So what does the health of your inventory look like? By doing so, we're going to assist with forecasting algorithms, best fit forecasting algorithms. And that's where we're able to save a sizable amount of inventory on hand, or reduction of inventory, because we're able to provide you with forecasting techniques that take into consideration trends, take into consideration seasonality, increase and decrease um, of trend. We also want to give you a cloud-based platform that you in turn can have access to at any point in time. We want to have that transparency of data, ease of use, and what's also critical is not only are we providing you with what your ideal inventory value is, better forecasting techniques for planning, but also we optimize your safety stock. And we use risk factors with regards to safety stock. And I will talk a little bit more about that. We're going to help with product line rationalization, scenario modeling, absolutely critical. We've all just come off of COVID. Um, in fact, McKinsey did a study that if there's a supply chain, and we're not going to ascertain what part of the supply chain, but if there is a supply chain issue and you cannot get product in, that potentially could erode your EBITDA by 30 to 50%. So supply chain is not something that is to be taken lightly. And unfortunately, being in the distressed space and working with clients that were very healthy, we found that there were three consistent issues throughout that migration from a healthy entity to, unfortunately, that of administration. And it was management. So not having the correct strategy in place, not managing your debtors was number two. And number three was actually inventory. And as I said, let's go back to what one of the original findings that I've provided you is on your balance sheet, inventory is one of the highest values. So it's time is now. We have to start looking at inventory as a place for major cost savings, for sizable efficiencies in terms of better forecasting techniques, better ways of planning for safety stock. And that's exactly what NetStock does. So as we said, we're an online platform. We pull information directly from the ERP. We're cloud-based. We're going to provide you with better forecasting techniques. We're going to help with safety stock. We also provide you with the ideal order and the ideal stock holding. We help with scenario mapping, because if there is a change to lead time, or perhaps a change of supplier, or a shift from one product to the other, and you need to now have a supersession plan, we do all of that. And then we also have invested sizably in pointed AI tools. And once again, I'll speak to that a little bit later. So now we're going to move on to forecasting. Now, we spoke earlier about how absolutely critical forecasting is. And that's one thing that we're very proud, because forecasting is an exact science. So we scientifically utilize algorithms to get you at least 70% of the way there in terms of accuracy of forecasts. So I've personally worked with many a client that said to me, Carrie, we've got forecasting under control. And I'll say to them, okay, well, one of the commonly used forecasting, or one of the commonly used supply chain KPIs is your forecasting accuracy. Can you give me that number? And that wasn't a trick question. It was an honest question to see how well they're forecasting. And they can't do that because manually it becomes almost impossible to track forecast accuracy, but it's a critical KPI to have. And that's one thing that NetStock, as I said, very proudly does, is how well are you forecasting? And if you aren't forecasting, within that 70%, 60, 70% accuracy range, we want to quickly identify why. So as I said, we have solid forecasting algorithms that will generate an automated best fit forecasting technique for you. So this is not something, NetStock's not about providing a platform that's going to overcomplicate your situation. In fact, we save time up to about 70 to 80% when it comes to calculating orders, calculating ideal safety stock levels, calculating what your inventory should look like, where the concern areas are, where your stockouts are. And we also allow for market input and collaboration. So what we find is another concern, and it's a critical step that you should be doing within your organization, is meeting, having your marketing team, your product management team, your finance team, your inventory management or procurement or logistics, whatever you want to call it, and sales, everyone should be working together on the forecast. Now, and that's what we would deem collaborative based forecasting. We also want to have adjustments for stockouts and once-off peaks. So what a lot of client or customer doesn't do is we sold 10, 10, 10. So 10 month one, 10 month two, 10 month three. Oh, we'll forecast 10 for month four. But what happens if you were actually out of stock during a large portion of month one and month two? So you're constantly on this hamster wheel of always in a stock out position because you're not taking into consideration stock outs and once-off peaks, which would probably provide you the opposite. So that would overstock you if you're not aware that that peak was actually an out of the ordinary situation. We also want to facilitate promotional demand. So any type of promotional activities that happen at certain periods, we want that also in play. And we want to be able to adjust forecasts at a macro level and a micro level. And what's critical in our distribution or any type of production-based environments is where you've got bill of materials potentially, or if we've got kitting, is we have the ability at NetStock to understand what does your finished good look like from a demand perspective in order to plan for raw materials or children products. And we do that all based on ratios. And this happens automatically. So whenever I speak about an optimized agile environment, I've been in the trenches. I truly mean this when I say inventory is something that is controllable as long as you've got the right platform, the right foundation, so that you have that springboard to be more effective and efficient. But you also have to have a view, a transparent view as to your information. You need to ensure that you're utilizing your working capital, and it's got to be easy. So if we're going to introduce a platform, it's got to be very easy to use. It's got to be entrenched in your organization, and you have to have processes around that so that you can have KPIs. So at NetStock, and I will take you into what the platform looks like, but you'll see very quickly, just please excuse me looking to the right, but that is where my graphical display is on my second screen. You'll be able to very quickly see a nice view as to previous trends, which is that dark blue line, followed by the automated algorithm that will predict your future trends, which is the olive green line. And of course, you can always amend anything, and we can amend it in macro level. So if you want to have a look at maybe a competitor entering the market and you want to reduce everything within a certain category of good, we can go ahead and pick that category and just reduce that forecast by 20%. So it's very, very, very simple to use. Okay, now we're going to speak about risk measurement. This is something that is unique to NetStock. So we always view safety stock as an investment in inventory for just in case you don't meet a forecast or you supersede a forecast, just in case your supplier doesn't deliver on time in full. And if that product is important to your business or not. So let me just rephrase this. If a product adds a sizable amount of margin to your business, and it's quite risky. So it's got a very erratic forecast. It's very difficult to pick up a trend, and your supplier constantly delivers late. These are the areas you should be investing safety stock in. If a product moves really nicely, your supplier is predictable. So they deliver on time in full, and that product actually has very little contribution towards margin, you don't want to invest as much safety stock in that product. And once again, that is where the IP of a really solid demand planning system is going to come in. It's giving you visibility as to where you should be investing your safety stock, and this is automated. So you're going to put in a couple of processes or high-level procedures into NetStock or a system, but NetStock, this is our IP, into a system that's going to derive exactly what your safety stock should be. And you can see from this chart, if you look at this product, the dark blue lines are showing you where a product was delivered early. The olive lines will show you a product's delivered lead time performance, a product's delivered late, and was it delivered in full. So NetStock's going in and analyzing all your historical information, and it's building up a risk profile for you per SKU. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what the NetStock dashboard looks like. So please let me know if this isn't filtering through correctly. But when you come into NetStock, we're all about transparency and ease of use. So you'll see straight away what your stock holding value looks like. We will determine what your model stock is. So let's quickly ask a poll question before we carry on. Is your company a star or a straggler regarding industry lead time standards? So what that means is, how do you believe you track lead times? So are you actively tracking lead times per product, per location? Then you would be a star. A straggler would be, well, I kind of roughly know what a lead time is per supplier, not really by product, and I just don't tangibly have any information. Would be, I don't know. So while you're doing that poll question, I'm going to have your eye cast again to the NetStock instance. So imagine being able to very quickly see what your ideal stock holding should be based on solid forecasting algorithms, safety stock algorithms that are not just a blanket 3-6 month safety algorithm, and making sure that we've got those policies that definitely bring in gross margin or cost price or selling price into your ideal stock levels. So over here, we can see model stock. We're going to very quickly see what your excess stock is, surplus orders. So I personally love NetStock because you can proactively now see, oh, hold on, I've got a whole lot of surplus orders. How do I cull those? And within NetStock, we can pull information to see if it's on a ship or on a train or it's already left or being dispatched. So you don't have to focus on culling orders that aren't prevalent. It will show you that full rate, what you're stocked out of, what your potential stock outs look like. Stock turns, another fantastic KPI. So after we finish the session, if you want to have a look at the system, because there are so many other advantages, then we can organize a specific demo around your concerns so that we can try and mitigate those risks. But another critical aspect to use in any inventory optimization environment is a Pareto analysis of understanding your stocking components. So I always call it, what does my stock look like? The good, the bad, and the ugly. And what we do at NetStock is we look at the good, the bad, and the ugly based on a couple of factors. Number one, what is that product doing to your bottom line, or how much is it contributing to cost of sales or selling price? A couple of different factors that you can use, and how quickly does it move? So we use a very generic color approach to this. So anything in green, and we can differentiate when we go through a demo what each green box actually means, but green means healthy, contributing products, and healthy items that move quickly. So those are green box items. Anything in blue are mediums. Red, slow moving, low contributing product. And then your golds would be your outliers. So this box over here is showing very expensive, slow moving product and very fast moving, low cost items. So why I love having this from an analytics perspective is, imagine being able to very quickly rationalize your products. So hold on, the majority of my products, okay, so I'm holding 3,760 products in stock, but 2,234 of them are sitting in slow moving, no contributing items. So it's time now to sit with product management and start rationalizing that. When it comes, as I said, to safety stock, are you going to be carrying safety stock here? No, very unlikely. We want to invest in those products. Now imagine being able to look at your excess with the same lens. So every single entity I've worked with in a consulting realm has excess. But do we have excess of high contributing, so very items that are going to contribute towards your margins, or are they products that are slow moving, low contributing? So when we now need to start forming excess reduction plans, imagine being able to quickly go in here, look at your excess, and then it's a click of a button, and all of a sudden we're opening up an entire tab on all the products that we need to start flushing out of your system. Here are all your products, and you can download this into Excel. So it's critical to be able to rationalize your products. Let's have a look at my fill rates. Do we want fill rates to be highest in our highest contributing products? Absolutely. And have a look here. Some of my lowest fill rate at 85, well, third lowest fill rate at 85% is sitting in my stars, my high contributing, high movement items. Why? Those are the type of questions you should be asking. So net stock or a platform is absolutely critical to define your inventory optimization strategy. And as I said, if you don't have those classifications or availability of classifications, it does become a very manual task and you're not optimizing your cash. Whenever I walk into any facility, any warehousing facility, anything sitting on shelf is in fact cash sitting on shelf. And we should be optimizing this. There's no doubt. In this day and age, we have to optimize your inventory holding. Now, we at NetStock we ran a benchmark report. So we went to 2,500 NetStock clients and we asked them a whole host of different questions. Our benchmark report's actually been published. So if you ever want to look at it, please don't hesitate to go onto the NetStock website or please contact Kilimanjaro and they'll also provide you with the global benchmark report. But there have been some very insightful things that have come out of that. And the one thing that did surprise me, and I've worked globally within the supply chain environment, is how long the lead times are truly within our region, within the APAC region. So you can see here, we broke it down into manufacturing, retail, wholesale, and other. And when we look at North America versus Australia in manufacturing, look how big that lead time is. When you look at Africa to Australia, look at retail. I mean, we literally have the longest lead time of all the regions within what we would deem the stars. Now, let's go back to that question, that poll question that we asked in terms of your lead time. So I'm a star from a lead time perspective, 31% of you. I'm a straggler, 46%. And I don't know, 23%. So you can see how a platform can very quickly do all that hard work for you. Now, if we consider that the stars from our global KPI study, how Australia is already unfortunately, on the back foot globally. So we have to be more proactive when it comes to optimizing your inventory because you've got inventory sitting on your boat for much longer or in transit for much longer than any other region. If you don't optimize your safety stock, you'll be carrying way too much safety stock. And I think there are much better things to do with idle cash in a business. Your fill rates, remember I said earlier how your end user has this, in my opinion, incredibly high expectation of fill rates. And we're carrying the most cash and inventory on most balance sheets. So for you not to invest in this area when our lead times are so long and you can't be as adaptive to changes, it is an area for concern. And when you look at businesses nowadays and how much cash people are putting into being agile generally, that if you're not focusing on the supply chain element, all those trends are going to point you, unfortunately, in a direction that you're not going to have the flexibility, you're not going to have the agility, and you're not maximizing that cash. So someone said to me the one day, Carrie, you're so passionate about inventory, but I'm sorry, it's actually quite a boring subject. And I love talking about it because it's one of those elements that I personally have seen go bring down companies. People haven't necessarily invested in this element. And I just don't want any other customer client to be in that situation where platforms are available. And that's why I so appreciate Kilimanjaro, because Kilimanjaro truly realizes this is an area that is critical to success, not only current success, but future success. So to make sure that you've got a platform that can solve your issues now, as well as allow you for growth and movement going further on. So we've at Netstock have had a long-standing relationship with Kilimanjaro because we have mutually aligned goals, which is providing the customer with a solution that can solve issues. And as I said, not just today's issues, but tomorrow's issues, and provide you with a global perspective. So now we've spoken about that item classification and how important it is to be able to Pareto that. And once again, this is click of a button in NetStock. When I was doing consulting, this would take me ages to do because I'd have to pull information from different sources. More often than not, I was working off of old information. This is changing and adapting whenever we do a refresh of your data, which is nightly. So I wouldn't suggest that you change strategy every single month, but at least you can have an inventory strategy and view that and adapt every 6 months. And when I talk about inventory strategy, it's around what is your ideal fill rate, high level? What is your ideal fill rate per classification? And how do you adapt to those classifications? So when it comes to filling containers, what a NetStock will do is it will provide you with a suggested order. And it's all based on your lead times we're pulling and your safety stock and your forecast and how often you want to order that stock as well. We bring all that information into the system and it's all automated. So today you can go into NetStock, click the button, see what should I order today, what should I transfer today between various sites. There's a lot of intelligence within the system, but more importantly, we have the ability to say, I want to fill a container and let's fill it with fast moving, cheap product. So we can actually do containerization for you in a much smarter, more analytical way. Performance modeling. Now, I did show you what we have available in NetStock to show us what is your actual stock level versus your ideal stock level. We also can have a look at these widgets by product, by location, by segment, by salesperson. So there is so much flexibility. And these are concepts that you should be using every single day. I want to know what my fill rate is for this product at this location and be able to also high level that and look at it in a macro view. What is my product availability for a certain category? And of course, we can do that within the NetStock system as well. What is your fill rate versus your target fill rate? We spoke about potential stockouts and stockouts. So what is the difference? Stockouts today means I don't have stock. What is a potential stockout is in the future, based on my forecasting system or demand planning system, I might be running out of product in these areas. And that's where we have the availability. If you've got different sites for transfers or expediting orders, look at a local source, maybe look at an alternative supplier source. So it's giving you very quick information, critical quick information that you can make changes to today. And then we spoke about surplus orders and ideal. Now, exception reporting. Something that has been the bane of my personal existence is how do we very quickly pull out reports with information that's critical and valuable today? And that's something that we also have in the system, is we don't have to go to programmers and get these reports developed. You'll have a whole host of generic reports available to you in our report builder. So we've got a whole lot of different add-ons, and we can create your NetStock system based on your own specifics or own customer or own requirements. But at the same time, we can go in and add another filter. And there's a whole host of different options, information options. So for example, here I've just pulled a report for you. It's our location, it's our product description, what is our gross margin, what is my sales in terms of 3-month average, what are my 2-month average sales price. We can pull in average sales over 12 months. We can pull in fill rates, we can pull in categories. So you can go now and create your very own reports and save those. And you can also have those user restrictions on these reports as well. Another aspect that I always talk about in terms of a world-class or best of breed inventory strategy is having the opportunity to model and having the opportunity to see into the future. And I know this is all hypothetical. I always say, as long as a platform provides you with 70% accuracy, you should have enough free time from having an automated platform put in place that you can now start doing the strategic insight, putting in the strategic insights into a system. So for example, a salesperson will know what's happening on the ground more so than a system will. So as long as the system provides you 70% automation, then you should be able to overlay that ground level direct information. So what NetStock will do at a touch of a button is it will have a look at a 12-month projection, and you can do this high level. You can have a look at your entire portfolio. You can have a look at a location or a product or a category or whatever filter is coming through from your ERP data. But imagine the ability to see, oh, hold on. Today, please excuse the dates. This is just a dummy system I'm using, or a sampled environment. But today I'm sitting at 9 million worth of inventory. And in 12 months' time, I'm going to sit on 7.5. My fill rate, you can see what the system's doing is it's actually going to be reconfiguring your inventory. So it's pulling out inventory in those areas you don't need. It's using those nice forecasting algorithms to do so, those safety stock algorithms, and look how phenomenal over 12 months our fill rate becomes. Now, of course, we're going to adapt and understand your business. We're going to create a high-level fill rate for you based on benchmark principles, but we're also going to create those fill rates per category, and per category being fast moving, high contributing, and so forth. Our stock turns have gone from 3.9 a year to 4.9. It will show you what your ideal demand will be. So when we talk about collaboration, imagine sitting with your sales team and saying, this is what we're ordering to. This is the forecast that we're ordering to. Does this align to your company budget? I've worked with many executive and management teams that the procurement team is ordering in one direction. Finance has a very different view from what you can spend to what the sales team, and everyone's working against each other. Finally, you'll have a platform that you can all collaborate together. This is going to show your recommended orders. You can now start liaising with suppliers and showing them what the potential pipeline is. You can bring in price breaks potentially here. Overall, we actually improve fill rates both with supplier and your own internal fill rate to customer, because you're just working on more transparent, that it's click of a button to be able to get this information for supplier. No one has to be held to it. It's just showing you a possible pipeline. In addition to that, you also can have a look at receipts. Are there any specific months where we're going to have high or low receipts? So you can then speak to your warehousing teams. We need to scale up resource. We need to potentially bring down resource, or maybe your 3PLs. You can start having better discussions with your 3PLs and shipping teams to see if you can't get better pricing because you're planning better. So an entire view of what your portfolio will look like over the course of 12. In fact, we can extend the horizon to 24 months if we need to. And we have the availability to filter this by what is your group, potentially your status, location, region, supplier. There's so much flexibility in this opportunity. We spoke earlier also about it's critical to have that lost sales, that LSM component. Now, lost sales multiplier is we will sit with your team and say, if you were out of stock for 50% of the month, generally what will your clients wait or not wait? And we'll develop your lost sales multiplier so that your future forecast is taking into consideration how many days you were out of stock and what percentage of their client would wait. So there's a lot of intelligence built into that lost sales optimizer. And this is done by product, by location again. So the lost sales multiplier will help guide us in balancing the cost of your inventory investment versus your cost of lost sales. We spoke about that nice projection. I actually showed you that projection. I was tasked multiple times by various private equity houses, by banks, by the internal team in the customer, and used to say to me, Carrie, I need you to show me what the hypothetical view would be. And that would take me weeks, months to be able to pull this report together. So I love the inventory projection opportunity with the net stock. Now we talk about scenario modeling and agility. Imagine we now can put in a policy override within your system to say, my lead time, my suppliers just had a fire at factory A. They've said to me, we're going to have a huge issue. Lead time's going to increase by 30 days. All I do is I go in, I create policy saying, please increase supplier ABC by 30 days. Net stock reruns. It pushes out a projection for me to show me what amount of working capital now I need in addition because of this extended lead time. And this is all done like that. So those clients that did have, or customers that did have an agile platform like this during COVID, during the economic crisis of 1998 and to date, because we all know the economy is quite unreliable, those entities that had this during, unfortunately, what's happening within the Middle East and what's happening in Russia, it's just created huge pipeline concerns, and they're constantly modeling within this specific projection module. And there's no doubt you can make better decisions, faster decisions with information that's now based on scientific analytics as opposed to hypotheticals. Another thing I wanted to chat to you about today is, once again, going back to our benchmark report. So their benchmark report it's, in my opinion, brought out some incredible things. And one of the other things, apart from lead times being incredibly long, sometimes upwards of 50% compared to our counterparts in America or in EMEA, Europe and Africa, is the fact that the majority of the SMBs, 30% of you, believe that you've got disciplined planning and inventory management techniques. That means 70% of you have opportunities. And I don't want to say this as something to go, oh, why aren't you doing this? Or it's truly an opportunity to implement systems and processes that are all available to you to help you improve transparency, your ordering process. As I said, recalibrating your inventory portfolio. So looking at SKU rationalization, looking at excess stock reduction plans. And the best, one of probably the best feature of NetStock, in my opinion, is how we onboard. So we've got 400 years of supply chain knowledge, because it's one thing knowing you need a platform, knowing you need a process, but it's formulating those. So we walk our customers through this journey together. And because we've got those 400 years of supply chain experience and we work across multiple different industries. So whenever we engage with a client, we're going to help you. We're going to provide you with daily, weekly, monthly tasks. We're going to provide you with the ability to view what the general KPIs are within your industry and global norms. And we're going to also have a whole lot of online training, one-on-one training. So most of our clients stay with us for years and years and years because we don't just give you a platform. We give you a platform that's aligned to your strategic business objectives, and we make sure that you're entrenched. Your process is entrenched how we develop your system. So do you have any minimum order quantities? Do you have units of measure? Do you have overarching minimum quantities that you need to adhere to? Can you only order once a month because you just can't fill containers? And we build all of that in, so you're not getting a plug and play environment. So ideally, whenever we talk about a value offering, and this is purely from experience, what do you get from implementing a platform like NetStock? Number one, we're going to optimize your ordering. So as I said, click of a button, what do we order today? And all those nice principles are coming into play in the background. So we're able to reduce time up to 70%. Now, I've personally walked into CEOs' offices and they are planning and signing off inventory orders. Broke my heart. We're going to free up all their time and we're going to hopefully plow that time back into areas that you can truly improve your business as opposed to general operational activities. We've got all that automation regarding safety stock classifications, projection module, forecasting. There is so much happening behind the scenes in NetStock, and you don't need to do anything manually. We're going to reduce stock out. So we normally improve fill rates by about 15%. So we're improving time, saving you 70%. We're reducing stock outs by 15%. Excess stock, we often reduce up to 35%. Forecasting accuracy is going to come into play. So we're taking a huge amount of cash normally out of your business unless you are so grossly overstocked that it's going to take some time, but still we can show you what that excess stock reduction plan is. We reduce stock by 35%. We're going to improve your forecasting accuracy, improve your fill rates, save you time, and assist with transparency. So now if we could move into our final poll question. Okay, so would you like a follow-up call regarding your inventory optimization aspects within your business? So you'll hear, once again, very passionate about inventory because I personally have seen what a platform like this does for a small business, a medium business, a large business. There are massive cost savings, massive efficiency savings from a time perspective. Some of the ancillary benefits are just better collaboration between your teams. You know, you're not fighting with marketing, you're not fighting with sales because of emotional information. This is actual information. So now we're going to quickly go into any Q&A. I love Q&As because I can hear what your concerns are, and hopefully we can mitigate some of those risks.
Kerry, for me, I think what you said was so right in terms of with all the crazy things that are happening in the economy at the moment, with businesses, there's so many challenges and disruptions they have to face. And having a purpose-built tool like NetStock definitely helps businesses manage them a bit better. I think for me, the thing that stood out also was when we're talking about forecasts, that is so true. Like at an executive level versus sales versus buyers, it's like everyone's got their own what do you say, forecast, right? And so having a platform that aligns this corporate strategy with the buyer strategy is so important and so valuable, because then that helps you plan better with your warehouses, your 3PLs, and any other functions that are linked to that. And like the efficiency gains are just enormous.
Absolutely, Masha. And when you look at what the landed cost is, the freight component of landed cost, it's huge. And it's also, I mean, nowadays shipping rates not only have doubled, but also just spatial availability is a concern. So you've got supplier concern to deliver, you've got spatial concern coming in, you've got cost coming in, then you've got your costs associated with picking, packing, storage on shelf. The actual inventory investment that to not have a solution that's going to optimize, or at least you're going to be spending cash in areas that you need to be spending cash.
Yeah, absolutely. Kerry, what differentiates NetStock from the native MYOB offering? Can we talk a bit about that?
Absolutely. So that question gets posed a lot of the time. Now, we love MYOB. Why we work so well is because we do have an offering that is more strategic, more best in class in terms of the inventory strategy. And MyOb Direct works really well. Their inventory offering works really well for some entities. But I always say if you're holding inventory where you've got excess, where you need assistance from that forecasting, the forecasting algorithms, you need the safety stock component, you want your projection module in place, you want to have some hand holding from a best-in-class KPI perspective and process perspective, then you're going to come to a NetStock. And MyUp is very much aware that they offer a phenomenal solution, but we just take that up a level.
Perfect. That's great. Thanks for that. We've got another question. What is the best fit customer for NetStock?
Okay, another one I love. So NetStock actually started off as a business that wanted to help everyone who had inventory. Because what they found was in order to have a platform like NetStock with all that automation and those phenomenal algorithms that you'd have to spend a ridiculous amount of money. So they created a solution that was easy to use that would apply to all environments. And that's still our ethos today. So we work really well in retail, manufacturing and distribution, wholesale. We work well in mining, in healthcare. We have just under 3,000 clients globally. That's 600 clients within the ANZ region. And when I say I have touched almost every single industry, I truly mean it, because anyone with inventory is going to need a solution like NetStock.
Right.
And the fact that you would already be or potentially be a MyUp client, we've got those direct interfaces. We've worked so well with the teams for so long. It's just such a beautiful synergy.
Perfect. Perfect. We've got a couple more that's come along. What is the normal return on investment?
Okay, I like that one as well. So because we free up generally between 15% of your inventory holding to 35, it really would depend on your classification of inventory. As I said, if you're holding a lot of excess, it's going to take a lot longer to reduce. But generally, the system actually gets paid off with between 3 to 6 months. That's the general norm. But worst case scenario, a year. In my consulting world, a year as a return on investment still was a rock solid opportunity for investment, especially when you look at the broader scheme of things, going into the future, how are you going to play? And when we look at what AI is doing, things are just moving so much faster. I was at a conference last week and it completely blew my mind that to not invest in the foundation when everyone's already here in terms of advancement, we've got to get that foundation happening quickly.
Great. Thanks for that. And what's the timeline for go live and the process of onboarding?
Okay. Once again, we pride ourselves on having a very efficient process. We know your time is limited. We can get you up and running between 1 to 3 months. And when I talk about that, it's not a plug and play. We want to make sure that whatever we are delivering makes sense. If we're suggesting an order, does it make sense? So there is a formal onboarding process. You would get allocated a person who has the supply chain experience, industry experience. They have a proper project management program. It's maybe once a week that you'll have to interact with them, and then you'll be up and running with full training and support.
That's great. Thanks for answering that, Kerry. So what are our next steps then?
Would be to contact your Kilimanjaro representative. So they know us really well. They know you really well. They're the perfect conduit.
So yeah, as Kerry said, if there are any further questions, you want us to arrange introductions, go in for a demo, please reach out to your Kilimanjaro account manager and we will help facilitate this for you. We look forward to continuing these conversations and thank you, Kerry, for your time today. And have a good rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you so much.